All right, thanks everybody for showing up. Appreciate you being here to Ask a Greener. Before we get into the questions, let's go around and have you introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about maybe where you're from, what you're studying.
Okay, my name's Abigail. I use she, they pronouns. I'm a junior here and I'm studying biology right now. I'm from Colorado and I'm an RA on campus and on the track team.
I'm Natasha, she, her. I'm a junior here at Evergreen. I'm studying to eventually be a librarian. In my undergrad, I'm taking a combination of humanities and psychology with a focus on art history and art therapy, and I'm also an RA on campus.
I'm Vivi. I am a senior here at Evergreen. My path of study is humanities, culture, text, and language and world societies. I focus more on pop culture and folklore, stories that we tell one another through culture.
My name is Dante. I'm a fifth-year senior here at Evergreen. I'm going for a dual degree in audio engineering and computer science. And I've lived in Olympia for a while, since I was rather small.
I'm Chris. I use they, them pronouns. I'm an admissions counselor, but I started as a transfer student in 2016 and moved right on to the MES program, the Master Environmental Studies program here, and then became a staff member. Originally from Wisconsin, but I've moved around quite a bit, lived in Olympia for about 4 or 5 years, so.
Great. Thank you, everybody. We're going to just jump right in and ask a big question, which is how would you describe Evergreen?
Green. It's beautiful. It's just, like, the campus itself is gorgeous and there's so many places to go and explore how beautiful the campus is. As for the culture, people are just so kind here and so open-minded to just have conversations about literally anything. And that's always been a really big selling point for me.
The people here are definitely unique. There's a lot of people here where I wouldn't have met them anywhere else, and I'm glad I have met them, and you always will have an interesting conversation if you're sitting down with someone.
I think the campus itself is mostly what drew me in. The people here are really nice. I'd never been to Washington at all before I came here, and I wasn't able to do a school tour at all, so it was kind of a blind dive. I'm really happy I came, and just like I'm able to do a lot of opportunities here, which I'm grateful for.
Evergreen, it's a higher ed institution that isn't a degree mill. You aren't coming here to just kind of like go through a bunch of classes, get the sort of minimum passing grade, and then get a degree at the end of it. You're coming here to like really truly learn rather than passing a test, which I really like. I'm paying a lot of money for education. I think it's a good thing that I'm learning rather than just getting a number at the end of it.
I feel like that's really what like drew me here was just the academic freedom, especially coming in, transferring from a traditional, very large university and being really forced to be compartmentalized, and that didn't work for me. Coming here, being able to really like explore what I wanted to and study on things that really blended, you know, like social justice with environmental work together, which is really important to me, was like, I don't think I would have finished college if I hadn't come here. Also, yeah, just like, it's a very, you know, welcoming culture, like, you know, definitely having like over half of our students identify as either like queer or trans was like a really huge draw for like that community space on a campus was really important to me.
Great. We're going to dive in a little bit to the academic side of things. And so I know we use the word program very differently here than any other institution. So can you talk a little bit about the word program, and then we'll kind of break that down a little bit, like what the difference between a program here is versus another institution?
I can go into this. So at like other institutions, I am a transfer student. I got an associate's degree before coming to Evergreen. Other institutions, typically when you're taking a bunch of classes, you're going to take smaller, separate 4 or 5 credit classes. And they're all going to have their own little unique area of study, and then you're going to be going class to class, different professors, often different groups of students that are in these classes. Here at Evergreen, typically, there is that option if you want that. You can take individual classes, but for the most part, students are taking a larger program, and within that program, there is smaller classes that kind of relate to one another. The program I'm in right now is called Computer Science Foundations. It's a 16-credit program, so I signed up for 1 class, technically, but within that program, there's 3 separate classes, and all of these little areas are taught by separate professors, but they're professors that have created this program like cohesively and coherently with each other. So I'm with the same group of students, and I've got kind of the same assignments that relate back and forth.
Great, thank you. What else are you all taking as far as programs go?
When I think of a program, the main class that I think of is the one that I took my freshman year, and it was called Madness and Creativity, the Psychological Link. We had 3 professors, a film professor, a psychology professor, and a Russian literature professor. And I got credit in English, film, psychology, and Russian literature. But they all worked so well together in a way that I would have never really thought they would. And I think my favorite part was the Russian literature, something that I didn't think I was going to go into, but was just really cool, and that she became one of my favorite professors here.
Right now I'm taking community mental health and art in social contexts, and that is both like a psychology class, and there's also like some like art aspects to it. It's taught by two professors. One has like a background in like French and film, and then the other has a background in psychology. In this program, it's kind of like, it's pretty cohesive because it is a bit of a narrower focus. It is like an intermediate level class, but we're doing a lot of learning on like different kinds of like psychological research, and then how that research can be applied in community settings versus just like a typical like one-on-one like clinical setting. And we're also looking at a lot of different like art projects and programs that have happened specifically like around New York City, and how like art has benefited communities there, and how we can use art like in our own lives and in our own communities here, and how that affects people. And it's just kind of like looking at the different intersections while also learning how to like do like psychological research.
Right now I'm in Human Evolution and Origins of Agriculture, and it's with two professors, one who I took last quarter in genetics, he was very great, and then my other professor was about agriculture and botany. And we're learning about like where we came from, where we went as humans, and how we like started evolution, and how we like domesticated agriculture, like which came first. I think it's really interesting to see how humans started. And I also like how I have two professors, and I'm also with the same set of students for most of the time, like what Dante said, in a 16-credit course. And I feel like I'm known in the class. Like I'm not just like one face in like a big lecture hall, and we really all want to learn the same thing. It starts really good conversations, I feel like.
That's great. So Dante had alluded to not checking boxes or getting a number or a letter. Can we talk a little bit about narrative evaluations and the kind of the way that it's determined whether or not you've learned anything in your programs?
So when it comes to grades, we don't really have grades. You're never going to be defined by like a number or a letter. That really doesn't say a lot about you than other like you figured out how to pass the test and you memorized the right answers. At Evergreen, at the end of every quarter, you write a narrative evaluation about yourself and your learning and what projects you've undertaken that quarter, and then your professor also writes one on you, and it's a way to show that your professors get to know you, and it takes a deep dive like into your work. When you do well, it's pretty much like a glowing like letter of recommendation from each professor from every program you've taken. And I find it says just a lot more about me. It says what I did well with, where I grew as a student, and that's something that like a number will never tell me.
Yeah, like how I mentioned, like I feel like my professors know me, so I feel like they're able to give me a really good evaluation, which is always better than a grade. And I feel like I get really good feedback, a lot of one-on-one. We really have smaller class sizes. Like I have, I think 9 or 10 people in my class right now. And so they're able to do what you said, a deep dive into all our work and give us like really good feedback if we got something wrong or if they think we can do better on something. Then you also said with evaluations, we can give them an evaluation as well at the end of the quarter. So if I feel like they did an amazing job, I'll tell them that. But if maybe I don't feel like they did the job I wanted them to, I could say that as well. Like I feel like it's a very good two-way system.
Something that I struggled a lot with in high school was the grades and what I was going to get, and that made me really spiral into it needs to be perfect. But here I can really just enjoy what I'm learning, and when I get to enjoy that and just put my all of what I want to put into it, it usually ends up better than what I could have done previous. With the lack of stress, I do a whole lot better with my performance.
Yeah, I'll definitely echo what Vivi said. Since I did transfer from another school, one of the classes I took when getting my associate's degree at another institution, I got like a really good grade in the biology class that I took, and I don't know anything about biology. I passed the tests to a very high degree of completion, but it was just because I was very good at memorizing things ahead of time, and then it was all out of my head the next day. Because there isn't a big emphasis on doing that at Evergreen, I actually get to spend the time learning it instead of just memorizing it to pass a test.
Yeah, what does that practical application look like as far as like, because if you're not teaching towards a test, there's some practical application in applying the knowledge. What does that look like?
Yeah, there's more like collaborative learning like with the other like students. There's more papers, more ways that you can sort of demonstrate your learning other than just reciting things. It's a lot more like application rather than like a recital.
I always really enjoy doing the presentations. There's a final presentation, and learning and adapting to presenting in front of a group, showing what you have been working on, as opposed to I memorized this information and only the professor is going to see what I memorized, as opposed to expressing to a whole group what you learned.
Yeah. A lot of my like final like projects and stuff have been project based. So instead of like taking a final test or writing a final essay, I've created like an art like installation that's been a part of like a gallery. And then right now I'm working on a zine. As our like final project, I've thrown an event for a mural unveiling as a final project. And that's a lot more interactive and like in depth than writing a paper.
Yeah, I've had finals and projects for my final projects. And with the finals, I feel like there's not the stress I would have in high school, because it's not like if I fail the final, I'm going to lose all my credit. It's just kind of proving to myself like what I did learn over the quarter and what I feel like I have a good grasp on, because even if I bomb it completely, I can still get full credit because I know I worked hard over the quarter. I'm hoping I don't bomb it because I thought I learned more. But then whenever I did a personal project, it got to be like something I wanted to do so I could apply what I have learned to something that I wanted to do in the future.
Yeah.
I worked with bees for a while in a program, beekeeping, and I did a project on how bees can hear and what they like to listen to song-wise, which is just completely out there. It was really cool to learn and test my knowledge about bees and their biology.
I didn't realize bees had ears.
They don't.
There you go.
Do they have a favorite song?
They like death metal a lot. That's kind of the genre they had the most reaction to.
Let's talk a little bit about the transferability of credits like this, right? Because there's not a traditional grade or a number attached to the credits that you're earning. Can you talk a little bit about what students' experience would be like if they were to transfer out of Evergreen or perhaps get into a grad school program?
Yeah, Natasha, you mentioned how a lot of them seem to be like glowing like letters of recommendation during evaluations if you do well. And a lot of master's programs decide that they like that a little more than just a number. These evaluations or these big letters of recommendations say more about you and how you learn and your learning career. And that is really useful when trying to apply to a master's.
Yeah, it gets really specific, I guess. Right?
Yeah, also going along with the evaluation that your professor does for you, they assign you, like, if you took the class for 16 credits, those 16 credits are broken down, and it just kind of depends on the class, but that will show up on your transcript.
Yeah, and if for whatever reason a grad program or other school won't accept the stack of papers, at Evergreen there is people who their job is to translate those evaluations into a letter grade and GPAs in order to help you get that along if somebody won't accept it.
Cool. We're going to change gears completely now and move away from academics, and let's talk a little bit about what you all do for fun.
I'm a musician. I play music. I play like in a couple bands. I go to shows in Olympia. That's one of the main things I do for fun. I also like the outdoors. Olympia is just in a great spot for the outdoors. We're like not that far from the Pacific coast. We've got like Puget Sound beach access on campus. And there's like 2 different mountain ranges, the Olympics and the Cascades, we're also not far from. So if you like the outdoors and all sorts of outdoorsy things, it's also a good spot for that.
I love running around the woods. It's a lot of fun. First 3 times I went into these woods, it was at night. I was with a group, and we decided against using flashlights for whatever reason, just to let our eyes adjust. It was a very Evergreen thing. And then events here on campus, like today we have Play Day, where we have all these bouncy houses out in Red Square, and everyone just gets to run around and have fun.
I'll continue on with like the outdoor stuff. It is very fun going out into the woods. We have miles and miles of hiking trails, and you can also go off trail and discover stuff out there. There's like 50 years of student artwork, shrines. Sometimes there's a living room. There's a bunch of different like tree houses out there, and it's very fun to just go see and what you can discover. I also really like walking around campus. It's a brutalist campus. It was built in like 60s, 70s, very concrete-y. It can be very fun to just kind of walk around, see where you can get to. You can go up to like the top of SEM 2 and like get on like parts of the roof there, like the safe access areas. I like a nice little night walk. There's some fun like little like light fixtures, especially like in the winter, that are just like nice to go walk around and see. I don't know, I'm also a pretty social person. I just enjoy hanging out with the people that I've met on campus. When the weather's nice, I really like going out onto the field by housing, having a little picnic there. I've met some really unique people at Evergreen, and just hanging out with them is always, you can't go wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. I was going to follow up on the field. When it's nice out, people go on the field all the time, and it's fun to just hop around in different groups and talk to people. And then also, the first 2 times I went to the woods that night as well, I got horribly lost. For like the first 3 times I didn't learn, but it was really fun because like you just keep walking, you'll eventually hit like a trail, the beach, or the road. You can find your way back from there. Sometimes at night in the beach, you can see there's bioluminescent algae, so it's really cool to discover that. On accident, I thought it was crazy at first, but we do have algae down there that's bioluminescent, which is super cool to see. I did Ultimate Frisbee a lot last year, which was really fun. And then I know there's an improv club here, which I like seeing their performances a lot. And there's also sports. The sports programs here are super great. I'm on the track team. I love my whole team. They're amazing. And then we also have a bunch of other sports. Are we going to talk about it later?
I was just going to say, let's lead into it.
Yeah.
It's a good lead in.
Yeah, a little biased, but I'm on the track team. I'm one of the captains of the track team, and I've had an amazing experience. The coach, Zeb, old head coach, actually brought me to Evergreen. Love him. We also have volleyball, basketball, and soccer, and our teams are doing really good. And then next year we're adding cross country and wrestling into our programs, and we've had a lot of support for that. I'm really excited. We're redoing the gym right now, actually. We're renovating the whole pool. We just redid the gym floor and just getting a whole new facelift. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Great to see. Great to have the student athletes come onto campus as well. Yeah.
CRC, our gym is really cool. We have also an indoor rock climbing gym in there, which is really fun, run by the outdoor program top, which they have a bunch of outdoor gear if you want to do more outside stuff, but don't have the equipment to, which I don't have any equipment here. They have like canoes and like kayaks and climbing shoes, tents, sleeping bags, the whole thing, which is all free for students. So I've taken like the canoes a few times and like brought them down to the beach and just like paddled around.
Thanks for talking about athletics. Let's go back and talk a little bit about Olympia proper. Like, what is there to do in Olympia away from campus that's still part of your experience here?
Yeah, like the downtown area is definitely like cute, small downtown. There's lots of like really unique, small locally owned shops, which is really awesome to see if you want to get away from like, the big box store shopping. Like there's definitely like craft fairs that happen regularly. Like the farmers market is like year round. People really love going and there's a lot of really cool stuff there. Our downtown is like really extraordinary because it is like right on the Sound and we have Capitol Lake, and I've spent a lot of time down there just like wildlife watching. Like I've seen like 5 seals in a half an hour like fishing down there, and I'm a birder, so it's a really good spot for birding, ironically, even though you're like surrounded by like an urban scape. So that's really exciting for like nature nerd to like see that. Like definitely got really good coffee like around Olympia if you're like into a good brew of caffeine. Otherwise, yeah, like I'm definitely also like outdoorsy person. We got just like a lot of stuff off campus. I mean, there's the campus forest right around the Capitol Lake area. If you want to go a little bit further out, there's the Nisqually Refuge, which is on an aquatic reserve. So there's just like a vast amount of biodiversity, and it's like a really nice space to like go spend the day, like from dusk till dawn. You can be out there and see so much stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of like, it's a very good outdoorsy if you want to be out in nature, even like in the rainy weather. Like there's still plenty of stuff to do. And if not, yeah, like the downtown area's like got a lot of fun, cool stuff to do down there.
I don't have a car on campus, so I like that there's buses that come from campus to downtown so I can go explore the area. So recently my roommates and I went to like the Wayside Cafe downtown and did a D&D character planning session, which was really fun. My roommate just planned like a one-shot for us. It was really fun, and we went downtown to get out of the house to plan it, which was super cool. And then we went to burial grounds and
yeah, you might want to clarify burial grounds. What burial grounds is, not the burial grounds.
No, not
right?
Burial grounds is a coffee shop downtown.
I really like the farmers market downtown. Now that it's spring, it's a super nice time, and there's a lot of produce in season. I got a really nice like loaf of bread. They also had the Arts Walk recently in Olympia, which is like just kind of a big arts festival that goes on for 2 days, and I went with my roommate for one of the mornings, and just it was really nice to get out. And there were so many people. It was a great like little community event. Yeah, and that happens twice a year.
I'll definitely echo everything that everyone said. There's a lot of good things to do in Olympia. I'll add one more though, Rhythms Coffee. That's my favorite coffee shop, and it's like they're open super late, and it almost like turns into a nightclub at some point where they have just like so many different like artists playing in this honestly really small coffee shop. But they pack it out like all the way full. It's so fun. Olympia's just cool. There's a lot of things to do.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Let's bring it back to campus and talk a little bit about the student population, the kinds of students, the demographics, then talk about what you experience here as being a student as far as other students go.
Yeah, I think Natasha mentioned earlier how like you always have like a different conversation. I think that's true. Like I've talked to so many different people from so many different places, but everyone here has been super cool, super nice. Because like I said earlier, I didn't know anything about Washington when I came here, so I just kind of came in blind. I actually met my roommate the first day, and we just have stuck together the whole time. Now we are like inseparable.
In terms of like people who live on campus, there's only about 450 residents, and so it is a really tight-knit community, and you just get to know people really easily. Like I can't walk across campus and not run into someone that I know, which sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to be alone, like I'm having my own moment, but it's really nice like knowing that there's always someone around that you can say hi to and stop and chat with.
Yeah, I lived on campus for 3 years, which included a year where I was like fully in lockdown. But I think something that's really nice for me is having other people who are neurodivergent or who are queer, and that's just really awesome to have that community of support.
Yeah, I don't know like how much more I need to add to that really. I don't live on campus, so I don't have the like on-campus experience. Evergreen students, they have so many broad interests and they want to like take different classes and explore different things. Everybody seems to be very well-rounded. I've never met like a cookie-cutter individual here.
I also think we have a really good range of like age of folks. Like that was another like huge draw as somebody that was coming in as a transfer student in my late 20s. I was like, am I gonna get stuck with a bunch of 18-year-olds? And that was like not the case at all. Like I've definitely been like, especially in my like graduate program, even it's like we had somebody that was as early as like, 23 years old to like somebody who was old as like 90 years old in my class. So it's like, sometimes you come back, sometimes you take some time off in your younger years to figure some stuff out before you come back to school. And yeah, it was just like nice to, have such a mix of folks like in a classroom setting.
That was one of the coolest things. I took Chinese my senior year of high school, and I was the oldest person in that class. There were no other seniors. And then I came to Evergreen and took Chinese, and I was the only 18-year-old in that room. There were 2 people who were maybe 19, but most people were like early 20s, late 20s. There were older range, maybe in their early 30s. Like we had a full range of people in my 4-credit Chinese class.
Let's talk logistics, some logistical things on campus, like what food options are available, what is the housing experience like, that kind of thing. And then we'll wrap up with another big question.
Food options.
I can start with food. The main dining option on campus is the Greenery. That's like a campus dining hall. It's buffet style. It's very convenient. I get most of my food there because I don't have to cook, I don't have to worry about getting groceries, and I don't have to worry about doing dishes. So it's really convenient, and there's like always rotating options, and there's always like the same few like standard options as well. Like there's always a salad bar, there's always desserts, there's always like a chicken sandwich that I can rely on, and then there's the other like rotating entrees. And yeah, it's also just kind of a social space. I love going in there with friends and just hanging out for like an hour, and yeah.
I'll mention the Greenery is pretty good about allergies as well. I'm allergic to everything, and I haven't actually had an issue eating there. So that's nice.
I think the most convenient place is the Pod Market. That's by our housing. It's in the HCC, which is called our Housing Community Center. In the back of it, there's like the Pod Market. It's kind of like a little convenience store. It has like snacks, frozen options, like smoothies and stuff, like candy and hygienic products. It's really convenient because it also uses like dining bucks, which is on your meal plans. It's also really fun if I get like a craving for like candy, but like I don't want to go to the store because I don't want to take the bus all the way down.
Always a need for chocolate. All right, housing. What's housing like?
I live in it. Housing right now is all apartment style. So that means you're going to have your own personal bedroom. You're not going to be sharing like a typical dorm room where there's like one bed and then another bed and you're like staring at each other as you sleep. So it's really nice having your own personal bedroom. You have a desk space, a closet space, and then you have a shared like living room, dining room, kitchen. It's a full kitchen minus like a dishwasher. So you do have to learn how to do dishes, which can be a problem for some people. You can fully cook and everything, and then you have like a full bathroom. You aren't sharing like a dorm floor of a bathroom. You have your own bathroom shared either between like 4 or 6 people, which is really nice. Next year, the dorms will be opening back up as another option, likely for like freshmen or students who are looking for a more cost-friendly option, and that's more like typical dormitory style with like suites and then a shared like hangout space and shared bathrooms.
Yeah, I lived in those dorms. I liked it. I had fun there.
I like the privacy of the private bedrooms though. Being able to like get dressed without trying to like hide behind like a door or something.
What's the roommate selection process like?
When I came in, I had it completely randomized. I was just like, this is like when I generally wake up. I'm kind of a little messy, but I'm able to keep my space clean. I don't mind noise, any of that. I put that in, and it paired me with people who, I said earlier, we didn't have much in common. We at least had that in common, but I did not know these people at all last year. And so you can make it randomized, or you can be like, room me with so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so.
Yeah.
A little bit of selection.
Yeah, if you have a specific people that you want to live with, you can put that in. And they usually prefer that because then they don't have to try to pair people together based on the quiz.
We lived together. We were
we were
matched through the quiz. We were roommates last year.
Yeah, I was near Array.
Yeah.
When I came in as a transfer, there was like a specific apartment just for transfer students. So it was like broad spectrum of folks from all over the place too.
I think it's really cool. You can do it like based on gender if you want. Like I want to have someone who is like, I just want to have a house full of women, or some non-binary, or just want a house with men. We didn't have that. We did very like co-ed. So I think that's a really fun option too. It's also a great way to meet people. I met like my closest friends at Evergreen through housing, and it's just like everyone's so close. Like you're able to meet so many people there too.
That's great. All right, last big question is, what's your favorite part of Evergreen?
The education style is like an alternative education. Being able to take exactly what I'm interested in works really well for me. Like I went to a normal high school and I did like all the required classes and that was fine and I did like fine. But I really like being able to come to Evergreen and having like the freedom and the encouragement to take just what feels important to me and what I'm really interested in. And I find I do much better as a student because of that. I have much more personal investment. I want to do well. I want to succeed. The education really is like what got me here to begin with.
Yeah, being able to communicate and build close relationships with professors, I'd say is probably one of my favorite things. It has helped me so much through my career here as a student to be able to communicate with people and just figure out what am I doing. But that's always been just so helpful for me, and definitely one of my favorite things, because I don't think I could ever have done more than 100 people lectures where the professor does not know me and I have to like go up and be like, hi, and then they just ignore me. That would be devastating.
I have two favorite things, and they're like kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. One relates more to the academics. I like that we get access to like spaces and equipment as a student, like essentially free of charge very easily. I toured some other like fancy recording schools before coming here. And the one thing that kind of was in common amongst a lot of them is it's very competitive and difficult to get in when trying to use the expensive recording studios. It is not at Evergreen at all. You're able to get a studio session, you're able to get trained on the equipment and use this like world-class $1 million studio equipment as a student, something that you would need to pay hundreds if not thousands of dollars for at a commercial recording facility, or you'd need to literally fight to get a studio session at other schools. It made the like audio engineering portion of my degree, it's so fun and so easy. And then the other part, I really like the campus. There's a lot of plants and the buildings are all like concrete and they kind of blend in with the plants very well. I'm a bit of an architecture nerd, so I just think it looks cool. But yeah, just aesthetically it looks nice, and then academically things are very nice.
I think for me, it's how much I felt like people have wanted me to succeed and how many opportunities I've been given. So I thought like as a student athlete, that'd be like my whole life. Like I wouldn't be able to be a full-time student athlete and do much else. But I've been able to do that and get like an ambassador position, an RA position. I still have a social life and it's time to myself as well. So like I'm able to do so much and not have one thing dominate my entire life. And because like my professors know me, my coach knows me, like people just know me well because of the small class size, I'm able to get communication going really easily. So if I have to miss a class for a meet, or if I'm like late to something because of a practice or a mental health day, I'm just able to shoot a quick email and it won't be like an automated response back. It'll be like a personal like, thank you for reaching out, here's what we can do. And I just feel like everyone's been really flexible with like a busy schedule that I have, but everyone wants me to do the best I can, the most that I can. I just felt like an amazing support system here.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can like echo everything everybody said. I mean, I really appreciate how like the values are really centered around like equity and justice, and that like draws students that really value that. And a lot of people are here because they want to make big changes, and that's an awesome community to be in. And yeah, like academically, just having the freedom to like really focus on things that were important to me, and then also having like a graduate program that's like didn't need to take my GREs because I'm terrible at test taking. I honestly never thought I would have gone to a graduate program, and now I'm an alumni, so it's like I feel like I've really like accomplished something like at my time being a student here.
Amazing. All right, so if there was a prospective student who wanted to come to Evergreen, what would be an insider tip that you would give them about attending?
I would say like maybe act quickly when like reaching out to your advisors or whatever, because they're here to like help you decide what you want to do. Because you're not locked into a specific major, a specific course of study, it's easy for you to change your mind later. But talking to someone early can really help you figure out what's going on, because it's very overwhelming having like less structure, finding ways to help me out and structure it a bit more.
Yeah, kind of echoing that is learn to communicate with professors and have trust in your professors that they want you to succeed, because they do.
I'm going to go a bit of a different direction. I would say when you're getting here, be social. It can be really hard to be introverted and just stay in your room all day and not meet people, and that can be really hard like on your mental health, even if you don't think you need like a lot of friends. Be social, try to meet people, make attempts to get outside, talk to people, because there's a lot of interesting people to meet. And this is kind of a school of introverts. There's a few extroverts around here, but just kind of push that boundary. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's going to be worth it in the end.
I was gonna say Natasha took mine. Like I was gonna say a little cliche, like reach out of your comfort zone. 'Cause I was definitely an introvert in high school, but became much more extroverted here. Take advantage of the woods. Like go outside. We have so many trails here. It's gorgeous. If you don't want to do like a full hike, just sit outside for a bit. Sit with yourself. I love the beach. So I always recommend like go down to the beach. And there's like a road leading down there if you don't want to walk or aren't able to walk. I say take advantage of what is around us.
That's good.
I'll say as an alumni, as we like to say, dig deep. If there's something you're passionate about, like definitely like go for that, explore that. We're definitely a school that embraces the weird and untraditional. So there's rarely a topic that you're going to be told no that you can't explore. And like, I feel like that was like why I wanted to come here and like get into all the stuff that a traditional college is like, that's too weird. And then like people here were like, yes, that's great. Do that. Tell me about that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for this. Has been amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.